You've been here before, haven't you? That moment when you realize you're dating the same man again, just in a different body. Maybe his name was different, maybe his job was different, but that feeling in your stomach, that voice in your head whispering something's not right, sounds exactly the same. You thought you'd learned your lesson last time. You swore you'd see the red flags earlier, trust your gut more, demand better. But here you are again, wondering why you keep attracting men who seem perfect at first, but slowly reveal themselves to be emotionally unavailable, controlling, or just plain wrong for you. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever looked in the mirror and asked yourself, why do I keep choosing the same type of man? Then what I'm about to share with you will change everything. Because the truth isn't that you're broken or desperate or have bad judgment. The truth, according to Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychologists who ever lived, is far more complex and far more hopeful than you think. What I'm about to reveal to you are psychological truths that most people will never understand about human attraction and unconscious patterns. These aren't the surface-level dating tips you'll find everywhere else. These are the hidden psychological forces that Jung discovered, the ones operating beneath your conscious awareness, pulling you towards certain types of men like a magnet you can't see. I'm going to break this down into 3 parts, and each part builds on the previous one, so if you skip ahead, you'll miss crucial pieces of the puzzle. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why you've been attracting the wrong men. You'll have a roadmap for breaking these patterns forever. But more than that, you'll understand yourself in a way that might surprise you. Let me start by explaining something Jung observed about human psychology that most people never realize. Every person you meet is wearing a mask, what Jung called the persona. It's not that they're lying exactly, it's that they've learned to present a version of themselves that they think will get them what they want. But here's what Jung discovered and what I'm about to show you. People can't help but reveal their true selves, even when they're trying to hide behind their masks. They leak the truth through unconscious behaviors, and once you know what to look for, you'll see it everywhere. The first truth is about projection. When a man criticizes other men excessively, especially about things like cheating or being unreliable, he's usually revealing his own temptations. Jung taught us that what we judge harshest in others is often what we fear most about ourselves. So when he goes on and on about how all men are dogs, or how he's not like other guys, he's actually confessing his own struggles with fidelity or reliability. Listen to what he condemns in others because he's telling you what he battles within himself. The second truth concerns overcompensation. When someone feels inadequate in an area, they often overperform in the opposite direction. A man who constantly talks about his honesty might be struggling with deception. A man who emphasizes how much he respects women might have issues with how he actually treats them. Jung called this reaction formation, where we adopt behaviors that are the exact opposite of our unconscious impulses. Pay attention to what he emphasizes most about himself, because it might be revealing what he's most insecure about. The third truth is about control and vulnerability. Men who refuse to show any weakness or who always need to be in charge are usually terrified of being vulnerable. Jung understood that our greatest fear often becomes our greatest compulsion. A man who can't let you see him struggle, who always has to have the last word, who makes decisions without consulting you, is showing you that he equates vulnerability with danger. This isn't strength, it's terror disguised as dominance. The fourth truth involves emotional availability and past wounds. Jung believed our unconscious mind is constantly trying to heal old wounds by recreating familiar scenarios. A man who pulls away every time things get serious isn't afraid of commitment. He's afraid of the pain he associates with deep connection. Maybe he was abandoned. Maybe he was smothered. But his unconscious mind has learned to associate closeness with danger. His pattern of emotional unavailability is his psyche's attempt to avoid reopening old wounds. The fifth truth is about attention and validation. When a man needs constant admiration, when he fishes for compliments, when he gets upset if he's not the center of attention, he's revealing a deep wound around his self-worth. Jung taught that narcissistic behavior is often the psyche's way of protecting a very fragile ego. A man who always needs to be special, who gets jealous of your accomplishments, who makes everything about him, is showing you that he doesn't actually believe he's worthy of love without constant proof. The sixth truth concerns criticism and mirrors. Jung said that what irritates us about others is often something we haven't resolved in ourselves. When a man is constantly critical of you, always finding fault, always suggesting improvements, he's actually projecting his own self-criticism onto you. He's making you carry the weight of his own self-doubt and self-hatred. This isn't about helping you grow, it's about making himself feel better by pointing out flaws in someone else. Pause the video for a second. You've probably felt that intuitive knowing, haven't you? That moment when something didn't feel right, but you couldn't put your finger on exactly what it was. Maybe you dismissed it as paranoia or overthinking. But what if I told you that feeling was your unconscious mind recognizing patterns that your conscious mind hadn't caught up to yet? Jung believed in the wisdom of the unconscious, and your intuition is often picking up on these psychological truths before your logical mind can process them. If you've ever had that gut feeling about someone that later proved right, you're not imagining things. You're tapping into psychological patterns that exist whether we acknowledge them or not. Write in the comments, "My intuition was right," if you've ever ignored that inner voice and later regretted it. You're not alone in this, and recognizing that your intuition has been trying to protect you is the first step in learning to trust it more. Now let me show you how these masks begin to crack under pressure, because Jung understood that our unconscious patterns become more obvious when we're stressed, tired, or feeling threatened. This is when people's true selves start to leak through their carefully constructed personas. The seventh truth is about how men handle stress and criticism. When life gets difficult, when he's under pressure, watch how he responds to feedback or challenges. A man who becomes defensive, who blames everyone else, who refuses to take responsibility, is showing you how he'll handle conflict in your relationship. Jung taught that how we respond to stress reveals our emotional maturity. If he falls apart, lashes out, or shuts down completely when things get tough, he's showing you that his emotional regulation skills are underdeveloped. The eighth truth involves how he treats people who have no power or influence over him. Jung believed that our shadow self, the parts of ourselves we try to hide, comes out most clearly in how we treat those who can't benefit us. Watch how he speaks to waitstaff, how he talks about his ex-girlfriend, how he treats your friends or family members. If he's charming to your face but dismissive of people who can't advance his agenda, you're seeing his shadow in action. The ninth truth is about emotional intimacy and fear. When you try to have deep conversations, when you share your feelings, when you ask about his inner world, notice his response. Does he deflect with humor? Does he change the subject? Does he make you feel dramatic for wanting emotional connection? Jung taught that intimacy requires the integration of all parts of ourselves, including our shadow. A man who can't go deep emotionally isn't just shy, he's afraid of what you might discover if you really knew him. The 10th truth concerns his relationship with his mother and how it shows up in your dynamic. Jung spent considerable time studying how our relationships with our parents shape our adult relationships. If he idealizes his mother while being critical of other women, including you, he's showing you an unresolved mother complex. If he rebels against any nurturing behavior from you, if he resents being cared for while simultaneously expecting it, he's playing out childhood dynamics that he hasn't processed. The 11th truth involves his relationship with success and failure. Jung understood that how we handle both triumph and defeat reveals our psychological maturity. A man who gloats when he wins, but becomes bitter when he loses, is showing you emotional instability. More telling is how he responds to your successes. If your achievements threaten him, if he minimizes your accomplishments, if he needs to one-up your good news, he's revealing deep insecurities about his own worth. The 12th truth is about consistency and authenticity. Jung taught that psychological health requires integration, being the same person in different contexts. Pay attention to whether he's the same person with his friends, with his family, with his co-workers, and with you. If he's dramatically different in each setting, if you feel like you're dating multiple people, he hasn't integrated his various personas into a coherent self. This lack of integration often leads to confusing mixed messages and emotional instability in relationships. Now I want to take you even deeper, to what Jung considered the most profound level of psychological truth. These final insights reveal the childhood wounds and unconscious patterns that create adult relationship dynamics. Understanding these will give you X-ray vision into not just his psychology, but your own patterns of attraction. The 13th truth is about the stories he tells about his childhood. Jung believed that our childhood experiences create templates that our unconscious mind uses to navigate adult relationships. Listen not just to what he says about his past, but how he says it. If he dismisses his childhood pain with phrases like, "It wasn't that bad," or "Everyone goes through that," he's showing you that he's disconnected from his emotional reality. Conversely, if he's still angry about things that happened decades ago, if he blames his parents for all his current problems, he's stuck in victim consciousness and hasn't done the psychological work to heal. The 14th truth involves how he handles your emotional needs. Jung taught that our capacity to hold space for others' emotions is directly related to how we've learned to process our own. If he gets uncomfortable when you cry, if he tries to fix you instead of just being present, if he makes your emotions about him and his discomfort, he's showing you that he's not emotionally mature enough for real intimacy. This isn't about him being logical and you being emotional. It's about his inability to tolerate the full spectrum of human experience. The 15th truth concerns his relationship with power and control. Men who have unresolved feelings of powerlessness from childhood often become controlling in adult relationships. If he needs to know where you are all the time, if he gets upset when you make decisions without consulting him, if he uses money, sex, or emotional manipulation to get his way, his unconscious mind is trying to prevent him from ever feeling powerless again. This isn't love, it's trauma response. The 16th truth is about his relationship with other women in his life. Jung understood that how a man relates to the feminine principle reveals his psychological integration. If he speaks poorly about his ex-partners, if he has no female friends, if he sees women as either madonnas or whores with no in-between, he hasn't developed a healthy relationship with the feminine aspect of life. This will show up as an inability to see you as a complete, complex human being. The 17th truth involves his capacity for empathy and emotional attunement. Jung taught that psychological maturity includes the ability to understand and feel with others. If he can't sense your moods, if he doesn't notice when you're upset, if he continues behavior that hurts you even after you've explained how it affects you, he's showing you a lack of emotional intelligence. This isn't about him being a typical man. It's about developmental deficits that will impact every aspect of your relationship. The 18th and final truth is about his willingness to grow and change. Jung believed that psychological development is a lifelong process, and healthy people remain curious about themselves and open to growth. If he thinks he's already perfect, if he gets defensive about any suggestion for improvement, if he believes that accepting him means never asking him to change anything, he's showing you psychological stagnation. A man who's stopped growing emotionally will eventually become a prison for any woman who stays with him. Here's what Jung understood that most people miss. These patterns aren't random. You're not attracting the wrong men by accident. Your unconscious mind is drawn to familiar dynamics, even when those dynamics are unhealthy. Jung called this repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to repeat familiar experiences in an attempt to master them. If you grew up with an emotionally unavailable father, your unconscious mind might be attracted to emotionally unavailable men, hoping to finally win the love and approval you didn't get as a child. If you witnessed controlling relationships, you might unconsciously seek out controlling partners because that dynamic feels like love to your psyche. But here's the hopeful truth that Jung discovered. Once you bring these unconscious patterns into conscious awareness, you can change them. The men you've been attracting aren't reflecting your worth. They're reflecting your unhealed wounds and unconscious beliefs about love and relationships. When you heal these wounds, when you develop a conscious understanding of your patterns, you begin to attract different types of men, not because you're using techniques or strategies, but because you've fundamentally changed the unconscious signals you're broadcasting. This isn't about becoming suspicious or cynical about men. It's about developing the psychological awareness to recognize when someone's unconscious patterns are incompatible with your well-being. It's about trusting the wisdom of your intuition and understanding the psychological truths it's trying to communicate to you. So which of these truths resonated most strongly with you? Which one made you think, "Oh my God, that explains so much"? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if this video helped you understand something about your relationship patterns that you hadn't seen before, please give it a like. Knowledge like this can be life-changing for women who are tired of repeating the same relationship mistakes. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you recognizes these psychological truths. You're not alone in this journey of understanding the hidden dynamics of attraction and relationships. Here on this channel, we create a safe space where women like you learn to trust their intuition and make more conscious choices in love. This isn't about becoming paranoid or distrusting everyone. It's about protecting yourself with knowledge and psychological awareness. If you want to continue uncovering these insights that nobody teaches us about relationships and human psychology, subscribe to the channel. It's not just a button you press, it's choosing to empower yourself with understanding. And hit the notification bell, because every week we reveal new psychological truths that can transform how you see relationships, people, and yourself. You deserve relationships that nurture your growth and honor your worth. And knowledge is power. Your patterns can change. Your story can change. But first, you have to see clearly what's really happening beneath the surface of your attractions and relationships. That's what Jung's work teaches us, and that's what we explore together here.